Hello and welcome to Illuminations with Tiina and Fi. I'm Tiina.
And I'm Fi.
Welcome to this new series on Illuminations, and this time around we are taking a deep dive into compassion. Today we're going to be talking about compassion. Next time we'll go into self-compassion. So Fi, I know that you have a definition of compassion there to share with us.
Yes, I got this from Paul Gilbert's book, The Compassionate Mind, and we're bound to. I will probably come back to him at some point, but this is a good definition. So let's just see what you think about this, Tiina. So, compassion can be defined in many ways, but its essence is a basic kindness with a deep awareness of the suffering of oneself and of other living things, coupled with the wish and effort to relieve it.
Okay. Do it one more time. The internal reflector in me needs to hear it one more time.
Fair enough. So its essence is a basic kindness with a deep awareness. So it's kindness and awareness.
Yep.
That helps, doesn't it? An awareness of the suffering of oneself and of other living things, together with the wish and the effort to relieve it.
Yeah. Yes, I think it's a good definition. We might want to pick it apart a little bit.
Yeah.
So definitely kindness at the heart of compassion. Definitely. And I think how I understand understanding your own, suffering, it said something with, being aware of your own suffering. It's the understanding of your own experience so that you can connect in and understand somebody else's, even though it might be totally different from yours. And it's holding that space, that other person, where they are in. I think suffering is it's such a heavy word. I don't think that compassion is always when somebody else is suffering. It can be just can be lighter, I think, when you want to show compassion or hold a space for somebody.
I suppose they probably are in, if you think of suffering as a continuum, maybe that might be easier. They probably are, in order for me, because otherwise I would just maybe showing love or empathy. So there's something about empathy there as well, isn't there?
Of course, yeah.
But maybe compassion is, that's really interesting. So maybe it is when someone, I would say, is not in resourceful state. So that's when, okay.
Yeah, no. But I can agree. It's okay. So suffering is a continuum. I think so. When I think about the word suffering, then it's really heavy. But and it's being in that moment with that other person, without judgment, and quite frankly, without bringing your own shit into it. And I think if I think about being compassionate towards another human being, the hard thing sometimes, the thing that I struggle with is the judgment.
I knew that.
Because you kind of go, it's like, okay, I need to put this aside now, but and it's not that I might be judging openly. I might not say, Fi, I'm judging you right now.
Yeah.
But it's those feelings coming up and kind of going, and then having self-compassion for those feelings, of course, just kind of letting that go and being in that moment, because your suffering is your suffering, and it's your experience of the moment that you are in, having that then kindness, showing kindness from me to you without trying to fix it.
And it says here, though, which is interesting, the wish and the effort to relieve it. So there is a desire. So it's slightly moving on from empathy then. Otherwise it would just be empathy, wouldn't it? So there is a slight desire to relieve it and some effort. So that sounds like it's active as well.
Yes, but the question is, are we relieving it by being there, just like in empathy, you know, are we, and having that understanding and showing up the way
or
that
a hug, you know,
if that's what the person wants. I know with you, it might not, you know, for me, it's like, oh, I'm going to hug for you, you know.
Yeah. I know.
And you go,
I'm getting better at that.
That's not
receiving.
but still, you know, it's not everybody's preference to be. But yeah, okay. So this empathy and compassion closely connected.
Do you know what's coming together for me? Do you remember a story Brene Brown talks about in one of her books? So good old Brene, and she talks about, is it her grandma who leaves the food out for the homeless people, and they know they painted the gates of the houses did something small where each of them knew. And that story so touched me that I actually now in a very different place when I'm with people who are homeless. And I don't want to sound like a, you know, good Samaritan or, you know, here we go, look, here you go, look, fear of judgment now. Walk away from that one. And but I really genuinely, she touched me. So whenever I give anything to a homeless person, be it a cup of tea or it's really the eye contact I give them and that connection. And for me, that's me being compassionate. Now, the effort, I suppose, is connection. I know we all yearn for connection. So I suppose what I'm offering in that moment is my connection as one human being to another. And I can't tell you the response I've had. It's very touching. But that story really moved me. Her grandma, was it her grandma, Tiina?
I can't actually remember.
Okay, it obviously touched me quite a lot because I can remember the story. Her grandma used to put out food, and the homeless people would come, and she never judged them. They would just be, you know, there was never a, well, you know, you got yourself into this situation or blah blah blah. It was just, and then it was the eye contact, you know, that human contact. So that's what's coming around in my head a little bit around compassion. So that's a simple act of compassion that I take responsibility for, to just even connect. Like, even if I don't have any change, and I genuinely sometimes don't, I will look them in the eye and say, no, I'm really sorry, I haven't. And most of the time they go, that's okay, love. One person once said something to me that I just ignored, but fair enough, you know, that he's there and I'm in my, you know, nice clothes, walking along all clean. So, but that kind of resonated a bit for me. So I don't know if that helps.
No, and I think with that, I tend to do similarly. Although I might not always say I don't have it, but I do always make eye contact and a smile.
Yeah.
Just to say, I see you.
I see you.
You exist, because I see so many people.
Yeah.
You don't exist. You're not here.
Yeah.
And
I think the other one that comes to mind is often parents with children. I mean, that situation where the child is kicking off for whatever reason, and you know, we can all stand there and go, you know, for goodness sake. And I've really learned to get that way in check and just kind of use my energy to be there with the parent and smile or whatever I can offer in that moment. That's compassion, isn't it?
That is compassion. And staying out of judgment. Yeah, definitely. Which can be difficult when you're especially on an airplane and there's no getting away from it. And I have been that person with a child who does not and totally refuses to put the belt on when you're landing, and what do? You know, but yeah,
but you use that mallet. Haven't you got that mallet you use occasionally?
Mallet? What is a mallet? Is that something that you bash with?
Yeah, you would probably bang a tent peg in with it. Just knock them on the head. I find that works quite well.
You do? Okay, well, I'll let you use that in your life.
No, that's interesting because so actually compassion isn't just feeling something, it's about doing something about it in whatever small way to relieve that.
Although I think also it's not about going, well, now I'm going to give you all the advice in the world what you should do in this situation. That's what I meant with fixing it. So it's more of being present, being mindful of now. And this is not about me, this is about the other person, while still tapping into your own, like that said, tapping into your own suffering, you know.
I suppose, you know, and you're bang on, because judgment keeps you out of compassion, doesn't it? Of course it does. Because I'm thinking about any times when I've been on a bus and there's a guy that got on once and he was in a suit and he was like a waiter, and he was singing and he was having a ball on the bus, and luckily the woman next to me, our energies were very similar, and we smiled and laughed with him, and he just joined in with us. And if I had gone into judgment and then maybe fear that it could kick off wrongly, or he might get a bit funny, but actually just go with the energy on the bus with the woman, that was compassion. But judgment, you're right, it is judgment that will always keep me out of being compassionate, or it can get sometimes in my head quicker than the compassion, and I have to check it. Yeah.
I'll read something of that Brene Brown has written in her book about shame, because she very much talks about it being compassion being a practice, because I believe compassion is a commitment and takes constant practice. So it doesn't, you know, it doesn't just exist. It might not just exist. So maybe it is about staying out of judgment and practicing that. Oh, there's a judgment again. Okay, noticing it, you know, bye-bye, whatever. But this is what she says. If empathy is the skill or ability to tap into our own experiences in order to connect with an experience someone else is relating to us. Okay, so that's empathy. Compassion is the willingness to be open to this process. And then she says, in cultivating compassion, we draw from the wholeness of our experience, our suffering, our empathy, as well as our cruelty and terror. It has to be this way. Compassion is not a relationship between the healer and the wounded. It's a relationship between equals. Only when we know our own darkness well can we be present with the darkness of others. Compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And that's interesting, isn't it? Because I think that goes back to, there's something around, I'm not particularly connected to the term forgiveness. I prefer more accepting, but there's something around that. If you can accept yourself and accept the other person, then you can open up to the compassion. The compassion comes from the opening up. But in order to even have eye contact with someone who might be living on the street, I have to go in and be open to maybe look at my fears around that as well, and my judgments around it, but my fears around that, and any notion I've had of not being able to pay bills, etc., and tap into that, and then that helps to open me up to that equality. That's really interesting.
And also I guess the possibility of that could be me.
Yeah.
You know, there's no guarantees of any kind.
But it's interesting, isn't it? I think that's a real. So actually, when I smile at that person, am I smiling as their equal? That's a good thought.
Yeah, I would say that I am when I do that, because for me it's like I see you. You know, I see the human in you looking at the human in me. Then if it might not be taken that way always. You know, I can't be responsible for that person's judgment of me, you know, what that, are you smiling at you? That might be somebody's reaction.
I've not had that yet. But
no, but they might not say it. They might not say it, but they might have a judgment inside of them going, you know, just like I have judgments going about other people.
This explains the challenge I have about some charity work, because I think sometimes, maybe in the past, have I given because it's from a different place other than seeing the person as equal? Maybe. It's that seeing them as equal. Quite interesting.
Well, but does that then kind of go seeing them as equal and doing what I can to alleviate their suffering?
But as equal, not equal. As power or giver. Because I'm giving, I have power here.
Yeah. But does that giving have to be power, or can it just be genuine?
Oh, absolutely. I think people do give because of power. I think they give because it gives them, it's an ego stroke. It's, you know, I'm not sure in the past I'll own it. I'm just checking it out here. Have I sometimes given because I know I can, as opposed to being equal? I haven't. I've just, this equal is the one that's just making me think.
Good. Fian. I have no idea. I didn't check the time when we started, so I have no idea if we are on time or not, or if we've gone over time.
Well, let's just wrap it up. We'll wrap it up with that kind of question, with curiosity around, yes, the equal side of equality of giving, the equality of relief, seeing you as you are, as my equal. Interesting. People can ponder on that and ponder on our two definitions. So a question from today.
I think that you just asked it, really.
Yeah, and I would ask people to consider, you know, how on a daily basis they could practice compassion. I think that's a really good idea. Because as we know, the more we practice these things, the more they become innate. So that when we have challenging situations, we can tap into that, you know, which has become more innate, then go into, you know, which keeps us all in much more resourceful state. So good. So think about how you might be practicing compassion on a daily basis. Good.
Excellent. So next episode is self-compassion. If you liked this episode or this series, share it around, please. Click the like button. That's a really great idea to boost us, quite frankly. No, it would be lovely. And leave comments. Leave comments about your experience of compassion and your thoughts around that. Brilliant. I'll see you next time, Fi.
See you next time, Tiina.
Bye.
Bye now.